Okay. The way phone phreaking worked, your touch-tone telephone at home would put out a certain set of frequencies when you dialed a call. When you placed a long-distance call and asked the operator to place the call, her touch-tone dial put out a different set of frequencies that directly controlled the long lines network. What a blue box did was it duplicated the operator's tones, allowing the phone phreak to control the long lines network and control where he wanted the call to go. The way you'd place a call is by dialing a toll-free number, 1-800 something or other, usually 1-800-325-3535. The Sheraton hotel chain was rather popular at the time. Before they would pick up that phone, though, you would send 2600 hertz down the line. Now, when I in New York am talking to my girlfriend in Los Angeles and we're just breathing at each other, there's no real sound on the line, but AT&T still wants revenue from that call. So they needed a way to be able to tell when the line was actually free, and they used the pure tone of 2600 hertz to say to the other machine, this call is completed, this line is now available. Well, I'm now sending 2600 hertz. The other side of the machine throws away the call. I release the 2600 hertz, and I have a magic genie at the other end saying, oh, I do not hear 2600 hertz anymore, so he must be getting ready to send me more digits to where the next call should go. I send key pulse, area code, number, start. These are key pulse and start are separate buttons on a blue box dial. And the call goes through, the phone gets picked up, supervision signal is sent back to the originating billing machine, which starts billing, but it's for a toll-free number, so no bill is actually generated. That's how they used to work.
How was it discovered?
By reading the publicly available literature. But back in the 60s, the equipment to do so was very expensive. Now, where were they reading these Bell Technical journals? At MIT, where they had access to this kind of the resistors and transistors to be able to throw the thing together. As technology became cheaper, more and more people could build this kind of equipment. So more people were allowed to explore the network in ways God, or at least AT&T, had not intended. If you don't think AT&T isn't God, just ask them sometime.
What kind of, you have some stories in regards to the earlier time of how you sort of...
Well, my claim to fame was hacking the world telex network, the world of Model 32 teletype machines, very loud, chattering away in business offices. Western Union opened that service in the late 50s, early 60s, and AT&T said, well, we own the Teletype Corporation, we have Model 33 teletypes that are the pure ASCII code and our Bell 103 modems, and we have this network. With a lot of spare capacity, we'll just put the TWX, the Twix network, on top of our telephone network. But they told everybody who would listen that the two networks were in no way interconnected. Well, they were interconnected everywhere. All you needed to do was find out which telephone exchange they had hung the local Twix exchange on, dial that exchange, the last 4 digits of the Twix number, 110 baud, half duplex, handset in the acoustic coupler, you had a Twix machine as far as the equipment was concerned. Well, about that time when I'm discovering all this, 1976 or so, they put up Marisat, the Maritime Communications Satellite. ComSat, the people that ran the maritime network, had no clue where this Cheshire character was coming from, popping up on the telex machines of ships at sea via their satellite. They didn't know if I had my own Earth station, whether I was trying to blow the satellite out of the sky, because they didn't know how it could get there. They knew that there was a backdoor in from the Twix network, but they thought it was solidly locked because AT&T told them it's not interconnected at all. When in fact, there was this huge hinge along the entire back wall that I could lift up the wall and slide under. So that's pretty much how I got there.
In my thesis, I'm trying to look at the relationship between the early movement on the campus of MIT, like the civil liberties and this counterculture, which was at that time present at the campuses.
Don't expect to find that the people interested in civil unrest and the people interested in technology are the same people. They usually aren't. When people start asking me what are my politics as a hacker, I start talking about international soccer. Because if they're going to ask me about politics, I'm going to have my fun with them. I happen to like soccer because it's the game the rest of the world loves, that America is finally getting into, and something that we are not shoving down everyone else's throats. So I like world cooperation because I like the world communications network. I like people around the world communicating with each other, sharing ideas. Share the knowledge has always been the watchword of TAP, the Technological American Party, which was a newsletter I published for many years. It died out in '84, just as 2600 magazine, the Hackers Quarterly, started up. And so the torch has been handed off and carried, as it were, by 2600 magazine. And while lately we've had to get into political issues because the politics are invading the technology, ordinarily we don't really like to mess with politics because that kind of adversarial relationship has nothing to do with the pure technical operation and the technical sophistication of what we like to play with, the hardware. Many phone freaks and computer hackers are into the technology of communications and find it very difficult to communicate with other people because they're too into the technology to understand how to have a relationship with other people. Just my observation from seeing so many phone freaks over the years. Oh, I interact much better than most hackers and phone freaks, but then again, I'm not as skilled as many of them. There just seems to be a direct correlation, a relationship between the two.
Yeah, I seem also to because a computer in a way is very deterministic.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of you know what it's going to do. It's not like a human being.
Yes.
You can't really.
And it's the sequence of events. It must be in the proper sequence, or the system falls down. And so, you know, computer hackers generally like that kind of order and the way things are determined like that. But the rest of the world doesn't like that. And so we have a very hard time communicating with the rest of the world most times.
Yeah. But still, it's like I've been told by others who also attend DEF CON, which is this other sort of...
It's a wonderful conference from all I've heard. I wish I could afford to go.
And this is like going... I've been told it's much more technical than the New York, which is, I've been told, more political. Do you see this as true?
That's more because of who attends. And you are in New York, which is an activist center, primarily because you have a large population to draw from, where a few loudmouths can get together from the various boroughs. They're just a subway ride away. But mostly because New York is the communications capital of America. All the TV networks are here, the news organizations are here, and if it's going to make noise anywhere, it's going to make noise in New York. One example given, OpSail 2000. The flotilla of tall ships, which were in a race from Europe to Miami. And then we're in Miami, we're in Norfolk, we're in Philadelphia. Did the nation know? No. They found out when it reached New York, because that's when the networks covered them, when they came to New York City. And so because it's the communications capital, we get all these political activists, and they happen to come to the technology convention of ours. They get up and they bring their politics into our technical sessions, and so it seems like it's a more political convention. Ask the people running it. We'll go, politics? Huh? What?
Because it seems, I've been attending some of the meetings around 2006 at the City Corp. And you have also like Emmanuel, who is among the...
Well, Emmanuel has problems where the politics are infringing on his technology. The politics have gotten very stupid. And in my opinion, stupid politics started with the businessmen who were running cellular telephone businesses and said, oh my goodness, people can listen in to our cell phone conversations with simple scanners they can get at Radio Shack. Well, we must deal with this technological problem. We must pass a law. And that's all they did. You can still pick them up on a scanner. If you don't, and if you buy a scanner that hasn't got the actual frequencies, you can go at about, you divide by 2, go to that frequency, and you can usually pick up a harmonic that's coming out of the cell phones or out of the cell towers. Stupid law. It's a businessman solution to a technical problem, and they blew it. They should have had a technological solution. Encryption, digitizing, some other means that just a simple scanner picking it up would not have released the conversation. But they blew it. They went the cheap route. They just had a lobbyist buy a few Congress critters and passed the law. It's not the way you solve technical problems. The MPAA right now, the Motion Picture Association of America, is trying to solve a technical problem with a political, legal solution, the law, and I'm sorry, the genie's out of the box. We know how to decrypt this stuff now. And if you're not going to allow DVDs to be played on Linux machines, then I'm sorry, I've bought this DVD. I'm going to play it on whatever hardware I can get to run it. And it's mine now. You know, your laws say I have fair use of this, and I have a machine that I want to run it. So I'm going to run this private decryption software so I can play my software on your DVD that I've paid for, and I want to go watch this. The politics are infringing on the technology, and we're forced to strike back. He's in a corner. Emmanuel's painted into a corner. He doesn't want to be there, but if he's there, he's coming out fighting.
But do you think the lawyers of MPAA will understand his viewpoint and understand that?
Oh, they're paid not to understand Emmanuel's viewpoint. This is what being a lawyer is about. You are paid to listen to your client and to find reasons for your client why the direction he's coming from is correct. In this case, we don't think they have firm legs to stand on, but it will take a court to determine that, and then it will be taken to an appellate court. And farther up from that, until somebody has the common sense to see that the technology must rule.
But will that occur? I mean, will that occur like...
We have to let it play out and find out.
Because someone has been, I've been heard like yesterday it was talk about Supreme Court even.
Oh yes, and I have little doubt that if the appellate court, is bought up as well, that it will go to the Supreme Court. And there are times when only the Supreme Court can come down with the common sense. The Elian Gonzalez incident, there really was no need for it to go to the Supreme Court, except that's the procedure. And the appellate court did the right thing, everybody did the right thing, and the Supreme Court finally said, no, the appellate court did the right thing, let the kid go home. Because the father is the sole arbiter in that. I mean, it takes a while. It's a democracy, okay? Democracy works slowly. But eventually the right answers usually come up. Sometimes a guy is screwed. And I'm terribly afraid Emmanuel might get screwed. But when you look at the solid facts behind the case, the technology behind the case, I think Emmanuel's going to come out on top, and I think the MPAA is just running scared. They started something, they did not understand what they were starting because they don't understand the bits and bytes of the technology, and I think it's going to go back and bite them.
Because this is, because in terms of technology, it's, as you say, they have made something that is, you're able to decrypt, to make something that you can.
Not only that, they're saying that you cannot look at your own DVD unless you play it on a player that has been licensed by them. But hey, this is my disc now. Why can't I play this on whatever machine I can get that can look at this? And at this point, we're only looking at bits and bytes. So that it took a guy in Norway to figure it out and put it up on the net. Why are they jumping out to Norway? This is an American problem. They're going to the International Court of Justice. They're going to the UN and Interpol. They're going to these international legal meetings now and saying that we must firm up these laws around the world to protect our copyrights from the nastiness of the internet. And it's going to take a few years to shake out. But the technology's out there. The genie is out of the bottle. It's too late for technological solution because they opted for the cheap way out, the businessman solution, to just create laws to make it illegal. And that's going to wash out.
This leads me to this idea or this thought I have about commercialization of the internet. What do you think about it?
The internet's becoming very commercial. Just walking around the streets of New York. Not only is a .com on every billboard, on every bus, but they are even selling the space on the umbrellas over the hot dog vendors to advertise businesses on the internet. Because the first problem is you have to get somebody to your website to see the ad message you've placed there. The thing is that the internet is more than just those commercial sites. Individuals around the world are setting up websites with their own individual interests. They feed the sites to the search engines. And then people going to the search engines put in what their interests are. And darn, it doesn't come up with ProcterandGamble.com when they put in their interest about a soap opera. It comes up with a couple of guys out in Iowa. You know, his wife is into The Bold and the Beautiful or The Guiding Light, and you know, their fan page comes up. And this is the kind of interaction that is going on in the internet. Personal interaction. Yes, the corporate types are out there. The ad agencies still are trying to figure out how to use the web properly. They haven't realized that glitz is fine, it gets them there once, but unless there's information content, they're not going anywhere. Which brings about the point that if you're going to have information content, make sure it's readable by any web browser. Shockwave and Flash are wonderful. If you've got a site you're trying to promote overseas, look at the bandwidth overseas. Look at how long it takes a Shockwave page to load overseas. We were talking to one fellow from South Africa. It can take up to 30 minutes to load a Shockwave site. The advertisers haven't figured it out yet, that the information content, the textual matter, is what counts. The most heinous crime on the internet, in my humble opinion, is a graphic with printing on it, with words on it, because they couldn't get a good font out of hypertext, so they put the font they wanted on the graphic. And then there's no alt tag saying what those words are for the non-graphic browsers, people coming in who can't see graphics and don't know what the heck that graphic says.
Inline, inline, inline.
Yes, it says inline, inline, link. If it's hyperlinked, then you have to go through a process to find out what the heck is the name of that hyperlink file name, and is it valid to what I'm looking for, and it's a mess. Until the advertisers and the so-called webmasters, what I call web critters, who haven't figured this stuff out yet, when they finally get it together, the internet will be a much more useful place, in my humble opinion. But the individual interactions that are happening on the internet make the world a much friendlier place, in my opinion, and the advertisers are trying to follow along too.
Hacktivism.
Now, it's interesting. Hacktivism is not just our problem with the MPAA. For example, the Million Mother March Against Guns, which actually sent about 100,000 people to Washington back in the year 2000, was mostly put together by email. And without the resources of the internet, they wouldn't have been able to get so many people together in such a short period of time and do the planning and procedures and what have you to get that march together. And the internet helps bring together those people who have focused interests. You know, some Mothers Against Guns, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, the soap opera fans. You know, they all come together and are finding communities. Where they were scattered individuals before, they are now an internet community linked by the net. And it can only help promote their cause among others who have the same interests, but it also means that they're not alone anymore. They can find people with their same interest. Almost any interest is out there on the internet. Go to a search engine, punch in a couple of keywords, and see what you find. Go find some, they'll probably lead you to some chat rooms, talk to other people, get together at conventions of those like-minded individuals. You'll have new friends from all over the place. I'm a science fiction fan. I grew up as a geek, you know, reading science fiction alone at high school. When I finally found science fiction conventions, it was wonderful to find like-minded people who knew the names Robert Heinlein and Isaac Asimov and Larry Niven, and that I could discuss these things with, and they knew what I was talking about, and you could throw out obscure references and get the proper obscure replies back, and it's wonderful when you can find your own.
You don't think this means of communication as internet has been so far is going to be destroyed by the commercial utilization as we have seen last year?
Not destroyed by, possibly even enhanced by, because some people who can't otherwise afford the internet will get on through ISPs where there's a little ad on the bottom. Okay, fine, but they're online. Many of my friends laugh at users of AOL, America Online. I don't, because at least they're online. their skills aren't up to where they can go out and get a regular ISP and use the FTP client and know how to use Eudora email and all the fancier stuff that I and my hacker friends know how to use every day. But at least they're trying, they're learning enough. They're at least getting out there and making the attempt, and I can finally reach them by email.
Well, this concept of AOL is sort of, what is the reason why some sort of don't like AOL?
Well, a lot of these so-called script kiddies are coming on through their parents' AOL accounts. The script kiddies are just children who like to be naughty. In some cases, it's worse. In some cases where you've got people who want to be destructive on the net, you have the situation where the playground bully has come indoors and learned how to type. And all he wants to do is go out and scratch disks and dump cores and just wreak havoc. Those guys are a real pain. And there's not a whole lot you can do to stop it. You can hopefully drag them into a con like this and make them realize that it's more fun to be friendly out there. And work with people. You can trade a lot more information that way, and hopefully have a better life, or finally get a life.
Hacker. What do you define? How do you, in your mind, define a hacker? What is a hacker?
What is a hacker? Well, to me, all hacking is hacking away at a computer keyboard until it does what you want it to do. That's all. Our proper title has been usurped by the press and handed off to these 14-year-old twerps that crack into system security, and we call those people crackers because they crack system security. The press hasn't picked up on that so much because the term hacker comes out of the old MIT culture, and so does a lot of what we true hackers feel about sharing information on the net. That's really how the net started, was a way to share information among scientists primarily. And it has become a public forum, not only for the crass commercial corporations who want to sell soap and what have you, but also for individuals who want to share information about their own particular interests, model railroading, gardening.
Because you mentioned that sharing resources, and like the first systems, computer system, you had to share, because there was lots of users and maybe just one computer.
Right.
You had to share the resources on it.
Well, not only shared, but you would leave the programs on paper tape lying around in drawers, and somebody could pull the tape and run it and say, oh, I don't like how it does that. Let me change that, and then I'll rerun the tape out and put the new copy back in the drawer. And the first guy'd come back, hey, somebody changed my program, but I like that. Hey, that's really cool. And the culture would be one of sharing. Sharing information, sharing knowledge, share how things worked, exploring how things worked, and trying to make it better. True hacker syndrome is when you see something in a program that you have to try and fix. And extend it to real life, it's when I see something where I've got to go out and contact somebody and make a comment in the hopes of getting it fixed. And usually, the problem with that is you usually break something else along the way. And but you try and do what you can to help fix a situation.
When I spoke to Alan Kotak when I went up to TMRC in March or April something, I really got was lucky to get him.
They're still around, are they?
Oh yeah, they're
cool.
still meeting there and like building. They have moved the old track, the old railroad track to a different building because they demolished the old building.
Oh yeah, those were very old buildings, and they were temporary buildings that lasted what, 30 years? Yeah.
So this is like they moved it to below the MIT Museum at Massachusetts Avenue.
Oh, okay.
So I went up there and had a chance to speak to Alan Kotak, and they were like building these new tracks and
cool.
Still having the old board, where they're showing.
TMRC is the Tech Model Railroad Club at MIT. Yeah.
And they were like building new tracks and having this huge room. And I spoke to a couple of the old timers there, including Alan Kotak. And when I talked to him, I was asking him about the hacker ethic. And he said that when Stephen Levy, who wrote this book,
the book in '84,
he said that the hacker ethic was something that Stephen Levy sort of had compiled from talking to people, and that this was sort of coming from this computer system, this sharing resources, and that this has sort of then was evolved into this hacker ethic.
Yeah.
What do you?
Well, the so-called hacker ethic is just something that's been evolving. It's just taking bits and pieces from the MIT, from Caltech and Carnegie Mellon, and how things used to just happen in these various computer centers, and trying to hang a tag on it called computer ethics. And basically it's don't screw up. And don't screw up anybody else's machine if you get into it, and let them know if they have a problem. And if you can fix it, you try and fix it, and otherwise you just let the guy know. At MIT, the way I was told, when you first go to MIT, freshman orientation, one of the first things they show you is how to crash a system. Because back in high school, that was a fun thing to do. Well, at MIT, any fool can crash a system. Here's how. And this will work, and oh yeah, just say shutdown, it'll just come right down. Now you know how to crash a system, go do something clever. And the kids go out and they try a few things. Now, of course, some things will crash the system by accident, and the system comes back up and the message will flood into the console. Oh golly, I was frothing with the disk drive, and I hope this wasn't it, and I don't know what happened. But more often than not, they'll get the message. Good grief, it succumbed to this old hack. Listen, you need to patch this thing here, and here's the patch. And it's the concept of helping make things better by exercising them, for one thing. And if you have a problem, trying to help get it resolved. Hacker syndrome is really when a hacker sees something going wrong on a computer, he wants to get it fixed.
Because I think it's important also that we have this reportage from the Norwegian newspaper to differentiate that hackers differentiate between those, or rather themselves, and those who do bad things to the computer system.
Yeah. Well, little boys like to be naughty. That just goes without saying. But for the most part, we're nice guys. We like to help each other out. We're pretty friendly. We like to go to Chinese dinners together. It's just one of those strange things that it's just...
Why is Chinese dinner so popular among hackers? I heard something about the menus. Something to do with the structure of the menus. It's so complicated.
It's a complicated structure. The thing with Chinese dinner is that everybody orders something. It's a very large plate of that thing, and you share it all around. You share resources, exactly. And so it's part of the fun of going to a Chinese dinner with a lot of people. You get to try a whole lot of different things that you wouldn't ordinarily have gotten on your own.
Because this is a long tradition here. And that
very long tradition.
Emperor Cheshire Dome at 3rd Avenue.
Right.
You go there, like every time there's a meeting in 2006, you go there afterwards.
Yep. And there's that. There's a lot of things come from the science fiction conventions as well. A whole bunch of science fiction fans go out to dinner together. But science fiction and computer hackers is a very mixed community. And so we brought the number of those conventions with us here to the hacker conference, and in putting things on. The program book, this is something that they do at science fiction conventions, and I finally convinced Emmanuel this year we want to have a program book laying out what our various program items are, the table in the front. And more and more we're just following the various conventions for putting on conventions. But Chinese food is just something that's different, that everyone can participate in and share it around.
Which leads me to this convention, as you mentioned. What do you think of it so far?
Well, as one of the people who's been organizing it, I think it's going extremely smoothly compared to how it could be going. I've heard some complaints that it wasn't quite what people expected, and I say, hey, listen, any conference like this is what you make of it. Get out in that network room and network with people, not just hacking around on the machine. Swap information, learn what you can, share what you can. It's that you're disappointed with the program that we have, or that some talks were too short, or that some got moved because the cult of the dead cow thing ran over time, or whatever else. I'm terribly sorry those things happened, but find a group to go to dinner with. Sit around and swap stories and see if you learn something, and be sure you swap email addresses so you can keep in touch later. If the conference never got its program off the ground, you should still have a good time from the people you meet.
What do you think about the cult of the dead cow show yesterday? It was quite different from a usual software presentation, I would say.
The Cult of the Dead Cow is not your usual software presentation. It's mostly a bunch of guys that like to have fun. I can see that their roots are probably steeped in the traditions of the Church of the Subgenius, which is a joke church that if you're not part of the in crowd and know the in joke, meaning if you just haven't read the book or anything, if you are a pure Southern Baptist from Alabama, you will reel back in horror. But when you see it as the joke the whole thing is, and can just sit back and enjoy it, you can just see that it's a bunch of guys out to have a good time, and but with some underlying messages. Their software, Back Orifice, sends a tremendous message to Microsoft and the real-world software community that says, you guys ain't secure. You guys have a problem. You guys are only trying to pass some laws here. You need to get some technological answers.
So this is they're sort of Back Orifice 2 was considered.
Well, Back Orifice 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to finish this interview by letting you tell us what you consider to be the greatest hack of all time.
Well, that has to be my personal hack, actually. And if you're looking for the area code story, you're right. Basically, I'm the fellow that got my own area code. It's pure timing and dumb luck all put together. I think Robert Heinlein would be proud of this story because it was just grabbing the right information, putting it in the right ear at the proper time. I live in East Central Florida, right outside the main gates of the Kennedy Space Center. And we got word from our Florida Public Service Commission they were going to split the 407 area code. Well, I'm a phone freak. I know to look at the website of the North American Numbering Plan Administration. So I go up there and I'm looking at the list. Everyone in America knows the list. 201 New Jersey, 202 DC, 203, blah, 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 blah. And I find this number, and I go, good grief, that number is available for geographic relief? Well, geographic relief of the area code is what we're looking to do. This is the number I want. It's time to power down the web browser, power up the word processor, prepare my testimony for the Public Service Commission hearing. I went, and I told those guys, listen, we are the Space Coast of Florida, as our tourist bureau calls it. We are the countdown capital of the world, and I feel that the countdown capital should have area code 321. And they loved the idea from the get-go. The one commissioner told me that they love to have this kind of sugarcoating to put on the bad news that people have to change their area code. But what was worse was when the chairman of the Public Service Commission came up to me afterwards. And she told me that they had gone to the North American Numbering Plan Administration and they had asked for such a list as I had presented in my testimony, and they had been told it was proprietary and they couldn't have it. And she was very grateful for my testimony that I brought them the list. The worst part after that, I mean, the way I like to look at it, the way I put the joke really is, well, I asked for the area code and they approved it, so it must be my area code, right? But I share. However, I saved the best number for myself. I dialed the number. I'm sorry, the number you have reached at Bell South Mobility is not currently in use. Cool. And I ran down to the kiosk in the mall and said, I want this number. And she called downtown and said, oh, I'm terribly sorry, sir, but that number is in the middle of a 100 group that's on a corporate rate. So it's a reserved kind of number, and there's no way we can get it for you. I'm terribly sorry. Fine, okay. That was the day after the Public Service Commission hearing. The day I learned they approved the area code, I got up on the internet, billsouthmobility.com. Ah, Mark Fiedler is the president. Okay, how to contact the company. And here's the email address of a publicity flack. First name underscore last name at Mark underscore Fiedler at Dear Mr. Fiedler. It's my area code. I asked for it. They approved it. It's mine, right? So I share my area code. I would like the number 543-8633 so that as of November 1st, 1999, my phone number will be 321 liftoff. And I got it. This I consider the ultimate phone freak hack, well, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I would say so. Getting your own area code is very...
Getting my own area code with
kind of cool.
Yes, kind of cool. Yeah. But again, pure dumb luck, knowing to look for the information in the right place, finding something useful, and then putting it in the right ear at the right time that something could be done about it. It follows Cheshire's law. And Cheshire's law is you can't break the rules, but once you find out what they are, you can abuse the hell out of them. No abuse was required in this case. It was just a simple matter of following the procedures. And that's all it was. More pure dumb luck than anything else.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, thank you.